Well, welcome to the Sack of Stats podcast. Pam Maldonado, Kelly Stewart of KellyInVegas, and we're here to bring you our 5 against the spread contest picks for week 16 of the NFL. We're doing good. We are rolling. We are 43-32 on the season after going 4-1 last week. So close to that 5-0 that I had been chasing. Oh, well.
That was bogus by the Panthers. Completely and utterly bogus. That was a game that I ended up on when it hit 14, Pam. I know we used it in the contest. It wasn't something I loved. I felt like we were pushing for that 5th one. And come Sunday, I was like, all right, fine, I'll bet it. Here you go. And amongst the other ones that you and I talked about, which was also the Ravens. And so we ended up going 1-1 on those big time overreactions. But the Panthers had that game within reach all game. It was just one of those late back doors by the Bills that just put a dagger in it, where they just seemed not to care there late in the 4th quarter.
I would still make that bet. I would still make that contest selection, because what ended up happening, it was super last minute, right? Like literally during warmups, was the kicker for the field goal kicker for the Panthers. He ended up getting injured during warmups. You cannot predict that. And that really came into play when they were going for it on 4th down instead of having to kick field goals. You saw it. I think it was the right play. I think it was the right line. I'm not at all bummed about it. It was just situations like that. You got to be lucky too. You can, making good predictions gets you only so far. It's like playing poker. You know how to run deep in tournaments, but then once you get to the final table, you have to have a little bit of luck involved. And that's exactly what sports betting is. You have to avoid some of those turnovers, the ball bouncing weird, the kicker getting injured during warmups. All of that comes into play. So I'm not at all bummed about it.
Oh, listen, Pam, you nailed it. And you're absolutely right. Look, I'd rather be lucky than good any day. Why? I have a wall full of CLV trophies from this year in the NFL that none of which went my way because of some luck, whether good or bad. I'm sure there's been some ones that have bounced my way. The unfortunate part is we always remember the ones that don't go our way.
Never remember the good.
And it is funny because on my spreadsheet, I have a little column at the end of, did I lose on a bad beat? Was it a bad bet? Would I make this bet again? Right. Because I want to be able to learn from some of those losses or from some of those wins. Hey, maybe if you had Army money line last night, it might not have been the play. You got very lucky to hit that late field goal, whatever it is. Those kind of things I like to put in my notes, because then I can revert back to it and say, okay, would I make this bet again? And you're right. I would make that Panthers bet yet again.
Absolutely. So I'm not at all bummed about it. And as I said, we're 43-32 on the season, and I'm excited about that. I think we have an opportunity here to really finish strong. I'm hearing my Bluetooth thing. Just as a reminder of what it is that we are doing, we are picking 5 against spread contest picks. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet. Automatically in is my best bet. And we're doing well on those too. Your best bets are 11-4 on the season. Mine are 10-5 on the season. Both of ours hit last week. So let's see if we can roll it into this week. During COVID, it's so freaking hard. So we'll see what ends up happening. Like every game that I liked has a COVID situation as a COVID potential situation or an injury news that it's like, oh, I'm not quite sure what to do. So we'll start first with your best bet, and that is
the Buffalo Bills. Now, look, I know that we all love that. I love to step in front of these freight trains, right? No matter if it's the LA Rams, if it's the Bucks. Patriots kind of got derailed a little bit on Saturday against the Colts, and I think we see more of that to come here. Look, let's revert back to when the Patriots played the Bills. The plus 2.5 kind of ended up becoming a square dog, right? I said I didn't care. We were already on it. I already had him in a teaser. But if you look at kind of how that game played out, Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times. The weather was really quirky. In my notes, it was, hey, no problem, teaser, no sweat. The side bet, really after Bill went for 2 there out of the gate, was never really in doubt. I mean, right out of the gate, Patriots scored, went for 2. They were up 8. Now on the flip side, you've got this Bills team that has a lot to play for here, right? They can't, they don't win this game. They're on the outside looking in. And that is not how they thought this season was going to go for them. But I think what they need to do is take a page out of Frank Reich's book from last week and figure out how to stop this Patriots offense, which they were in theory somewhat able to do the first time around. But more importantly, run the football. If you can run against the Patriots, you can win this game. And Josh Allen, I know, is a little banged up, but he will be playing in this one. I can't foresee any crazy thing happening other than him not. I mean, I know that it is saying that he is day to day, but from all accounts, he will be a go. I know it's scary to step in front of this Patriots freight train. I love the Bills. I teased them. I moneylined them. I took the 2.5. Currently looking at the odd screen, I wanted to see if we started to see some twos pop up, because sometimes that's a good indication on how things look. And a couple of the sharp markets are going to two. So we're going to see
the
how
contest
this
is
plays
two.
out. This is a week that I did not love. And I feel like I've said that for like the last 3 weeks. I played more totals again this week than just like last week, then I did take a side. And I think because totals are a better indicator with all of these players either testing positive for COVID, out with injury. I mean, we have teams that are just completely banged up like the Titans. And then on the flip side, the healthiest team right now in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. So I think they're poised to make their playoff run, and it all starts this Sunday in Foxborough.
I do agree with this one, so I'm not at all. I have no arguments. I have like 2 lines in my notes for this, and it's that the reason why we saw the Patriots regress last week is because they didn't have their running back in Damian Harris. He's such a key part of this offense. You take away that run game, well, then you kind of don't have a lot, because that's what their whole offense is predicated on. He was limited in practice on Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. I'm not sure if he's going to end up getting the start here, but if he does, how healthy is he going to be? So again, this could be a good spot for the Bills, who, as you alluded, is more healthy. And the Bills, they are 65 in touchdown rate per scoring play, while the Patriots are 51%. That is a huge differential. That just shows me that they are putting up more touchdowns than they are field goals. You're not going to have a weather game situation this time around. It is going to be good. And you were talking about, I will disagree on one point where you said run on the Patriots. I actually think that the Bills need to be passing the ball more against the Patriots. The success that they had in that weather game just a couple of weeks ago, the success place they ended up gaining more yards downfield, had more passing opportunities, overall had a higher success rate when they did pass the ball. It was when they were running, they're like, it was almost like there's wind, we should run. That's not their MO. They need to go back to what it is, and that's let Josh Allen run. If they are going to run, it's let Josh Allen run and then let him pass.
That is what I should have said, is let Josh Allen cook. That's what he's there for. He is a very mobile quarterback, and that's what we need him to be. As I was kind of concerned with his injury, but by all accounts, everything I'm hearing, he's good to go.
I also do like the money line, and it's plus 115 right now. That's a bet that I'm definitely looking to take myself. So for my best bet for this week, I love totals, and my totals do really well in the NFL. So my best bet was a total. So we can't use that for the contest. So I'm going to instead lay out a couple of options, because I don't love this week as much as I loved last week. Last week, I was like, Kelly, we got to get our videos up on social, because I have a feeling we're going to have a really great week. Almost went 5-0. And look, I was right. We went 4-1. I don't have that same feeling this time around. I'm, as of right now, I'm a little worried. So let me throw out a couple of options and see what you think. A couple of games that I really do love, starting first with a Saturday game. I like the Colts here against the Cardinals. The problem is I also teased them when they were at +1. In another contest, they're +1. In this contest, they're -1. I don't know if that makes a difference in your mind, but I do know that the Colts, they have had the first half lead in 11 straight games. And it's only that they can't seem to pull off those wins there in the end, but they have outscored their opponents by 90 points in the first half of the season. The Cardinals, they are just really in shambles here without DeAndre Hopkins. The offense just doesn't seem to really know how to run without him. Of course, he's still out because he's going to be out for the season. And Jonathan Taylor, I think this is just a really great spot for Jonathan Taylor to go off again. We've seen that he is able to go off. He can have 100+ rushing yards. He can put up 3+4 scores. Cardinals run defense, they're allowing the highest rate in the league of carries to gain 10 yards or more. Jonathan Taylor, he leads the league in carries of 10 yards or more. This is a perfect spot for Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz, I still trust him. I think he's still a good quarterback. He makes a couple of boneheaded moves, but what he has able to do this season compared to years past is we've seen those mistakes kind of compile. Interception, fumble. He gets rattled. What we're seeing now is he'll make a mistake and then they're able to bounce back immediately after. So it kind of masks that mistake, and it's because of running back Jonathan Taylor. So that's one of the games that I like. But it's a -1 instead of a +1. What do you think?
I don't hate it. Look, to me, I feel like this is one of those games where I can't decide which side is overreacting more, right? I look at it like this, Arizona just lost to the Detroit Lions. They got to have a bounce back. Well, do they? Or did the Lions kind of show that maybe they're a little fraudulent? And we thought this team that I thought was only going to be an 8-win team this year that has superseded everybody's expectations, kind of got brought back down to life just a little bit, right? And that's kind of my concern. On the flip side, we just saw Indianapolis in a standalone game all but dominate the Patriots for 4 quarters. Yeah, they kind of took their foot off the gas in the second half, which was an interesting dynamic there. But
they were really competitive against the Bucs. That game was theirs until just one mistake that cost them. But otherwise, they were in it all 4 quarters.
I was on the Colts. I had the Colts to win the AFC South. I had the Colts over their season win total. I was very high on this team. And now they're finally starting to come into that form that I thought they were going to be. Arizona is I think the line move tells you all you need to know. The sharp money came in on the Colts early. As you mentioned, you put it in a teaser. I went to put it in a teaser and it was already gone. I do think this is a game in between the 7s, right? So if Arizona does get to 1.5, I'm going to tease them at home. And that's my only concern is I think this is a 1 touchdown game. I just have to pick the winner as of 80% of NFL games. Carson Wentz and I have had some go arounds this year. If you're going to make me pick, I will take the Colts. I don't think I'm going to get to the window personally on this game, but I know why you like the Colts and it makes sense to me.
Honestly, I really love this game. So I may end up making this by default my best bet, but I have one other one. Let me see what you think. Eagles -9.5 at home to the Giants. Tell me that the Giants just haven't given up already. You have quarterback Daniel Jones, who's out. This offense just seems to be entirely lifeless. They have scored 9 points, 21 points, and 6 points in the last 3 games with Mike Glennon behind center. They're averaging total 4.6 yards per play during that span. That is the 7th worst in the league. And the Eagles, the reason why they looked a little bit competitive this week against Washington, it almost looked like that the Eagles weren't going to cover, but they ended up bouncing back. The only reason why Washington put up points was because of turnovers. Literally, that's it. You take away those turnovers, it would have been a shutout game. But the Eagles, they're the number 1 rushing offense. They're the first team to have 175 rushing yards in 7 straight games since 1985. Now, this run game, it is also efficient. It's not just the putting up yards, but they're first in the league in success rate rushing the ball. The Giants are 26th against the run. In theory, this should be run, run, run. The Giants will never get the ball. And now let's say the Giants maybe get downfield. The Giants have scored a touchdown on just 15% of its red zone plays. That is the fewest in the league. So they're putting up more field goals, as we have seen as of late, putting up only 9 points and 6 points rather than touchdowns. The Eagles, they have allowed just 4 touchdowns from outside the red zone all season. That is the fewest in the league. So you can't score from inside the red zone, and you're going to have a heck of a lot of trouble scoring from outside the red zone. I don't know how the Eagles even get to 10 points in this spot. How the Giants get to 10 points.
I hope they don't, Pam. I have the under here. This is one of those totals I told you about, and that is double-digit favorites, divisional favorites to the under, 10-34 on the season. 78, sorry, not on the season, the last 2 seasons, 78%. So these are auto plays for me here. I'm with you. This is completely Eagles or pass. You're right. Monday night, I wanted to take Washington football team. You know me. I was like itching. I was like, no, you can take them with a backup quarterback. You cannot take them with a 3rd string quarterback here. And you're right. That defense stepped up big. The New York Giants defense is not the Washington football team defense, period. And you're right here. While it is a divisional game and I naturally gravitate towards the dog, this was immediate pass for me. Have the Giants given up? I don't know, but their fan base sure has. I mean, just look at some of the people in our industry that are Giants fans. Their tweets are hysterical. Not because I'm enjoying their pain, but because of how pissed they are at Joe Judge, Gettleman, the whole Giants organization. So it is one of those things where I agree with you. It would be Eagles or pass for me. If you want me to pick between the 2, I absolutely would rather take the better team in the Colts. But I do think that the Eagles looks like it's the right side to me.
Okay, then I will leave that as an option, both games. Okay, well then that's it. That's all I got. We have 1 game.
Well, look, I think we have more than 1 game. So initially, I really liked the Saints. I sent you that on my list. Teams that the prior week only scored 10 points or less, the natural reaction is fade them. Well, look at them, what they did offensively, whatever it is. That's actually not true. 53, 31, and 3. Shocking. So I was like, okay, I can make a case for the Saints here. Look, they didn't do anything high power prolific, but that defense did exactly what I said they were going to do. And that was the awesome part of that game. Now you've got this Miami team that all of a sudden everybody thinks is rolling. Wrong. They are not. They are playing horrific teams named the New York Jets. And it kind of gives you that little.
You are leaving one key part out for the Saints game.
Well, this is my whole point. This is my biggest problem with the Saints now. No more Trevor Siemian. He is on the COVID protocol list. So what I texted you before we started was, wait, do we have a stale 3.5 in the contest? If we do, that right there is almost a free CLV trophy with the Dolphins. Trevor Siemian.
Now we are getting Ian Book as quarterback for the Saints. Let's see.
No Trevor Siemian, no Taysom Hill. So it will be Ian Book.
It's a pick.
It is a pick. So I do think getting a 3.5 point drop off with the Dolphins is, if we needed to find that fifth play like we did last week where it was just really difficult, right there. I mean, you're basically getting the best of the number regardless. And I feel about those. Sometimes you just have to take them. I did play the Saints myself earlier in the week. So I have a lovely negative CLV trophy, but it is what it is. Sometimes you try to get the best of the number and to get ahead of things. And unfortunately, in this new world that we're living in, there are a lot more detriments to somebody getting hurt at practice now. So with all of the testing and everything going on in the NFL, sometimes you got to wait, and my strategy has never been to wait. If you like something, play it now. You know what I mean?
Play it now.
Why do I need to wait? And that's something I've been doing really good with bowl season for the most part. I've only played 3 or 4 games really early on, but it can get a little crazy. So outside of that,
another game. What do you think about the Ravens +3 at the Bengals? Now the Bengals, so here's a problem for this. So I know that people are like, oh, it's Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. He still hasn't even practiced. I'm not projecting him to play. I'm not going to be. I think it's going to be Huntley again. Everything points to him. He didn't practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There's just no sign that he's going to be ready to go. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it. What happened last week? We got 5.5 with the Ravens. I told you that, why is everyone freak? I think it's Huntley. We already talked about Huntley playing. And then there is an official announcement that Lamar Jackson wasn't going to play. What happened to Lion Shots 9? Hello, my God.
The couple other guys were out as well. And,
I think this exact same thing is going to happen.
Yes. So then my question is, 3 with the Ravens is going to be gone. I think it's already built in the line. I think this game, I had Ravens circled early in the week. I really considered them being my best bet here. Again, I love those divisional dogs. Plus, Baltimore got worked at home against the same Bengals team. Yes. I lean towards the Ravens here. I do think that they can win this game with Huntley under center.
Yes.
My concern is, though, are we taking a terrible number? And does that matter to you? If they announce that Lamar Jackson is out and we get Huntley and it goes to 4.5.
Well, for betting purposes, yes, you're going to get a worse number. For contest purposes, if you like the line, I mean, this is where I have you come into play. So the reason why, let me talk about then first why I do like the Ravens here to contend against the Bengals. The Bengals, for their pass run play ratio has been 55-45. This is an offense that, yes, you have Joe Burrow. He is a stud. He can get the ball downfield, but it is still heavily utilized running back Joe Mixon. He picked up an ankle injury last week. So you kind of push him out of the equation. You've seen already halfway into the Broncos game. Broncos do have a better defense, yes, but they held Mixon to 58 rushing yards and Burrow threw just 157 passing yards and 1 TD. You take away one part of that equation of your offense. Now what's going to happen? You're going to kind of force throws. You're going to be a little bit more like a chicken with your head cut off. And I can see that kind of scenario happening here, even though the Ravens secondary is pretty bad, but you can't run against them. So if Joe Mixon, who's already banged up, can't run against the Ravens, This is going to even out the playing field a little bit because you're eliminating that run game factor for the Bengals that relies so heavily on it to open up that passing game. Ravens with quarterback Tyler Huntley. The Ravens, they love to run, except with Tyler Huntley. They have switched to 70% passing with him behind center. Cincinnati, they gave up 300 passing yards to Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, and Jimmy Garoppolo. I know that Huntley is not an Aaron Rodgers or Justin Herbert, but he's fully capable. He's just right now a healthier, better version of what Lamar Jackson is. They're the same player. It's just he's healthy, and that's the difference right now. The Bengals, they are vulnerable to tight ends, and Ravens tight end Mark Andrews, he's at 115 receiving yards in back-to-back games and 3 scores. This is going to be an offensive game in my mind. This is going to be a high-scoring game in my mind. You add in some of that volatility, I think it's going to be whoever has the ball last. I like Ravens. I already think that the 3 is already built in with no Lamar Jackson.
I think
they're telling you what the line should be.
I would agree with that. I think that they are as well. I think that a lot of people are still not that high on the Ravens. I mean, I kind of got bashed, and I wasn't trying to sound pompous on Twitter last week when I said, if you're betting the 9 now with the Packers, like, just stop betting. And I didn't mean it to be a jerk. I meant it because it's like, what are you doing? You had 4.5 available. You had 5.5 available. You had 6 available. What were you waiting for? And if you're waiting until Sunday morning to bet the favorite in a situation like that, you're just too late, because the bookmakers are going to push it up high enough. The Ravens actually had an opportunity to win that game.
Yep. I took them live on the money line, and I had a little bit pre, but then live that you were getting a better number. So I tweeted the Ravens live on the money line because I was confident that they were going to come out with that win. You convert that 2 point, they do. I get it. You made the decision to not go for it, to not go for the extra point and not take it into overtime. I'm not mad at the situation. I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I would agree with it being the right call as well, even though that he's 0-2 for those back-to-back weeks. I hope it doesn't come into play in this week, because I would like to cash that Ravens money line. I think we add the Ravens to the card. I'm with you.
Okay, so then yes, I like it. I like this more. Out of the 3 that I mentioned, that would be the one that I probably like best, the Ravens over, instead of maybe using, I mean, I still like the Eagles here just because the Giants are trash.
And I don't blame you. I think that there are just teams towards this last couple of weeks that are very fadeable. They're just wanting to get to the offseason at this point, right? Like, they've already announced Pro Bowl guys. It's not like, what did the Giants' next draft pick, 23 or something? I saw the next first round draft. It was like something ridiculous because they've traded away everything. So it's not like they have some crazy draft pick to play for or anything like that.
So let me throw out an underdog that you were opposite on, but maybe you've changed your mind. I don't know. Lions plus 5.5 at the Falcons. No Jared Goff. It is Tim Boyle who is getting the start. He has 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This is not a play on the offense. This is a play on the Lions defense against the Falcons, who are 0-5 against the spread at home this season. They are 0-2 against the spread as a favorite. The Falcons have been outscored 214 to 104 in the second half this season. So when they do have leads, they let them go, and they're playing and even if they score some points, they're just being outscored. That's 31st in the league, ahead of only the Texans. They are 30th in red zone touchdown rate allowed. The potential here, all that to say, the potential here, even without Jared Goff, the Lions may be able to get some points up on the board, but offensively, they have scored just 2 offensive touchdowns from outside the red zone. That is the fewest in the league. I don't trust Matt Ryan getting 5.5 points to anybody, laying 5.5 points to anybody. The Lions, they have been feisty. They have been showing up. Look at them, how they're keeping teams low scoring. They're getting it done. The only thing is it's no Jared Goff.
I think my biggest thing is this. All of a sudden, people want to back the Lions, right?
Right.
Who the hell are the Atlanta Falcons to be laying 6 to anybody? I totally get the flip side. I just was kind of looking at the market here and saying, all right, it's going to be hard to pick 5. So I'll throw in a favorite there to just not be the dog better of all times. I think that.
What's the line with Goff?
That's a great question, because I can't tell you what Tim Boyle is worth. That's my biggest problem. I'll have to ask somebody else who knows a lot more about him than I do. I think that's my biggest issue, is I think that the drop off is probably more significant than we're willing to admit. And it doesn't seem like it's really dropped off that much. Let me look and see here. Tim Boyle, Eastern Kentucky. That's right. See, I couldn't even remember where he played college football. Now, why isn't it going to be David Blau? That's what I don't understand. If it was David Blau, I could tell you he was a 2.5-point drop off. We knew that from previous seasons with Matthew Stafford and Blau. I think it was 2 Thanksgivings ago. That's what I don't quite understand here. I will say that I think this line only goes in one direction, and then I might be wrong. Open 4.5. That's what I would have made the game. We know no Jared Goff. It starts hitting 6, but there's tons of 5.5s out there. I just am a little concerned that the whole world's going to want to bet the Lions this week after they pulled up the upset last week.
I mean, this is a pretty good dang defense. They held the Steelers to 16 points, the Browns to 13, the Bears to 16. They lost by 2 to they beat the Vikings, held them to 29. They did get rolled by the Broncos, and then they held the Cardinals to 12. So, I mean, this is just like a pretty good defense as of late. So the question is, if the Falcons can't score 20, then is there potential here on the underdog?
I don't think the Falcons, well, they might be. I could see this being like a 24-21 type game. Lions get the cover. My biggest problem is this is just a Lions team that is just so Jekyll and Hyde. And You're right. Jared Goff hasn't even played that great. I just pulled him up. So to even try to quantify the drop off, well, Jared Goff the year that he was in the Super Bowl or Jared Goff in Detroit? I mean, Goff has shown me some moments where all of a sudden he's got a 2-minute drill against the Vikings. He's got a little bit of heart. I'm okay with taking a gamble here on the Lions. If we need to force another play, I just looked at the line move with Atlanta from the 4.5 to the 6. Kind of tells me it was sharp money, and it was just something that I was like, well, trying to find another one here. As I mentioned, there's a couple of leans I have, but they're even uglier than the Lions.
Okay, what are you thinking?
I just feel disgusting saying this. I am not going to bet it. I like Jacksonville, though, in this spot. Last week, I think everybody thought Jacksonville fired Urban Meyer. They're going to come out. They're going to win. It's not quite that easy, especially in a divisional rivalry game. Jacksonville looked like shit last week. And who didn't look like shit? New York. You know what I mean? They looked pretty good for about 3 quarters. And then, of course, they do what the Jets do best. I just was shocked to see the Jets open as 2.5-point favorites here. I was just completely floored early in the week. I'm like, who the hell are the Jets? They're not.
If you were catching points, by all means, let's put it in the card. But now the line is a pick for the contest.
Yep. I just saw that. And that's my biggest problem. At a pick, I think we're a little late. Though I will say under 3 at 2.5. People always recommend playing the money line instead of taking the points, because you're going to get that plus 115, 120. Because at 3, the line essentially says pick the winner, right? And that's how I was looking at this one. I think the Jags can go in there and win this game. But you're right, at a pick 'em right now. How hysterical would this be if this just ended up as like the second tie of the year? Because I could totally see that happening here.
I could also tell you, I don't even think that the Jags are going to score a touchdown.
Okay.
I can see them getting to 10 points max. Maybe like
3 field goals like the Saints.
Field goals like the Saints. It's going to be like a 20. I would lean to the Jets on this side, and it'd be like a 20-9 score. The Jags maybe get a James Robinson rushing touchdown and then like a field goal.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. He throws more interceptions than he does touchdowns. I don't trust just this offense. I don't know. They've broken Trevor Lawrence down so much that he's not fixable this late in the season. It needs to be the off season already for this team.
Yeah, I would agree with that there. The other one that I had circled at +7 was the Bears. Now starting to see 6s pop up in the market. Look, this is the next question you have to ask yourself. Who's quit, right? Seattle, my beginning of the year pick was for them not to make the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. The Bears aren't going to make the playoffs. The Bears want to fire Matt Nagy. They're moving to Arlington. It's crazy. This late in the season, week 16, you have to figure out who's going to start resting players. You have to figure out who's going to start, who's got a playoff push, who's playing for home field advantage, who doesn't care anymore. And that's my problem with a team like taking the Bears. I do think that at +7, they look to be the right side. But then on the flip
Contest is
side,
6.5.
yeah. And on the flip side, it's just really a difficult scenario to try to guess what motivation is here. Right. And so that's why I said I lean those two sides, but I don't have some compelling argument other than Seattle should be a 6-point favorite, not a 7-point favorite.
So this was my best bet for the week, but it was the under. This was the game that I was talking to you about that I took the total, the under in 43, and it definitely leans also towards taking the Bears because both teams, they're kind of the same. It's 27th and 28th in red zone scoring attempts. They're 28th and 26th in touchdown red zone scores. So Russell Wilson, they actually can put up touchdowns, but the problem is they are having trouble getting downfield, which is kind of just crazy because it's Russell Wilson. You don't exactly correlate the two, but both of these offenses are like immune to scoring. And they both have pretty good defenses. The Seahawks, their defense, they are 32nd in total defense. That's yardage, but it's in the red zone that they shine. They are 9th in red zone touchdowns allowed, 5th in touchdowns allowed overall. So now you're telling me I like the under on this game, and you're laying a touchdown for a team that can't score. Definitely. And you were talking about which team has given up. I would say that the Bears are still definitely fighting because Justin Fields is a rookie and he's still trying to show off what he's got. And he has that pizzazz and he does try and he is running the ball. He is showing off his mobility and what he can do. And you've had a back-to-back rushing scores. Like he's trying to show like, hey, I want to be here. I want to let's put up some points. We got this. They're not entirely successful at it, but, and that even shows you there's a lot of people who took the live line with the Bears last week. And what ended up happening? They scored with like a 1 second left in the game. That is a perfect example of you saying who cares more. Clearly they do because they're still trying to score until the clock runs 0.
That is a very good point. You're right. That showed a lot of promise on the side of the Bears and a lot of fight because you do start to see that at the end of the year. It's just, we've seen it with Bill Belichick. Was that last year where he just didn't even kick the field goal? He just let time run out. And I believe I had the Pats and I was like, why would you do that to me? Well, because he didn't care. There was nothing left to play for at that point. So they just didn't. That's a really good point. I'm on board with the Bears. Like I said, math wise, both of them were plays. And I just was like, I get kind of tired of taking these really ugly, gross teams like the Panthers last week, because sometimes when you do take them, those bad things happen to those bad teams. You know what I mean? Bad luck, bad beats, whatever it is. So I'm okay with the Bears. And then
what do you think about okay?
Go ahead. No head.
As I say, another big favorite in the Cowboys.
It's Cowboys or pass for me. This is a Washington football team that I would love to say, okay, great. I'll come back to the well with this team, but I can't. I mean, 10.5. I'm all over the
contest is 10.5.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Double-digit favorites to the under, as you know, have just been crushing. So I took the under 47 yesterday. I lean towards Dallas. I do think Dallas here's their chance to solidify their championship, if you will, for the division. They beat Washington football team. I believe that they've got it all but locked up.
Actually, we're getting a little bit of value because the other contest has the line at 11 and this contest is 10.5. Well, yeah, I do like the Cowboys because Taylor Heineke, he is back in the lineup, but potentially he's playing injured because he had COVID. That's one thing, but then he also was dealing with an elbow and knee issue. And just 2 weeks ago, if you remember, the Cowboys were actually up. They just played 2 weeks ago. The Cowboys were up 24-0 in that game. That was when we had Washington.
Crushed.
I think we ended up taking Washington that week. Yeah. And so in that game, there's a player that played then that's not playing now, and it's linebacker Cole Holcomb. He was one of the players that picked off in a pick 6 against Dak Prescott. Well, he's not in the lineup anymore, so maybe that's going to be of some saving grace to Dak Prescott on this offense. But they don't have J.D. McKissick. He's on IR, and running back Antonio Gibson, he's questionable with a toe injury. So now you have an injured quarterback, an injured running back, no backup running back. What's your offense?
I'm with you.
What was the other game that you had mentioned?
The Vikings, but as we mentioned when we
no Dalvin Cook.
No, Dalvin Cook makes me crazy, but I was just looking at the odds screen and it's yet to move.
Hasn't moved.
It hasn't moved.
So in your opinion, though, what would he be if the line hasn't moved? What would the line should move to, in your opinion?
I thought we'd see a 3.5 at the least.
At least
I
a
really
half.
did.
I'm not saying half point.
I'm not saying he's worth a full point here, but the market's saying he's worth nothing. Sharp offshore book still has 2.5. That is baiting people to bet the Rams here, baiting people. And I am just like completely floored that it hasn't moved. I do think Adam Thielen is going to be a go from what I was reading. We're going to find out 100% probably tomorrow afternoon. And that's the unfortunate part. We are filming a day earlier than we normally do. And that's just because of the holiday and everything like that. So Pam, I honestly am okay with solidifying a 5. He was limited in practice
on Wednesday. So I think if you're limited, that's a good sign that he's more than likely to play.
So here's my thought process. It is Thursday. Mind you, I just realized this. It is Thursday. You and I always usually start to film on Fridays. I think we should pick 5 and then have 2 as a reserve and not submit until tomorrow, because just in case, you know what I mean? Like we could say, okay, these are our 5, but here's our 2 alternatives in case something crazy comes out. Because we know last week, late Thursday and Friday was when all hell broke loose with the Browns, the Washington, you know what I mean? And that's the last thing you want to do. That's why I kind of like the office football pool ones, because I can change it up right till kick, right? I can just go back in and I'm like, cool. I'm going to play the Packers -4.5 because I just took the Ravens +9. I've got myself a nice middle. While it didn't hit, those are the abilities versus the Vegas-based contest where, you know, you've got to get those in on Saturday mornings. So it can be a little difficult, but I'm okay with choosing our 5 and then saying, okay, cool, let's monitor the Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen situation, because Dalvin Cook is completely out, correct? He is ruled out?
Yes.
Okay. I did get a text, but I always like to double check for myself. And that does concern me, but it concerns me a lot more if both of them are out. I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins cheerleader all the time, but I will say I think that Kirk has played really well this year. He's limited his turnovers, and this Vikings team has been in every single game within a 1-score game. And especially at home, Minneapolis gets rocking. I don't know if you've ever been there, but that place is loud. Great time. I bet it's going to be an absolute blast the day after Christmas. And this is a Vikings team that I was kind of back and forth on. Are they going to be 7-10 or are they going to be 10-7? And I think that they have more of an ability to be 10-7, but it starts with beating the Lombardi trophy holders that everybody's trying to already give them, the LA Rams.
Okay, so then what would you want our 5 to be? Right now, we still only have 3. We have your best bet of Bills +2 at the Patriots. We have the Ravens +3 at the Bengals, and the Bears +6.5 at the Seahawks. That's 3 that we have locked in. Other considerations, we have the Colts -1 to the Cardinals, Eagles -9.5 to the Giants, Vikings +3 to the Rams. What would you want to lock in as a 5? What was
we kind of already touched on this. Would you consider the Dolphins, or do you think that they're now 1.5 and we're starting to see 2s pop up, point favorites at the Saints? I do think it's going to be a very popular side.
The contest is a pick. For the contest, yeah.
Oh, and the contest is a pick. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's where I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying the line was currently a pick. If the contest is a pick, it's completely out the window. I thought that we were still going to get a little bit of value. 3. Yeah. That's where I was thinking. Sorry, that's my fault. So Bills, Ravens, Bears. Honestly, the next 4, Cowboys, Vikings, Colts, Eagles, I have no real strong opinion on any of them. I think that if you ask me to force rank them, I'd say Colts, Vikings, Cowboys, Eagles.
I would agree with Colts. And then I would put Eagles over Vikings. And then Cowboys last. Off. Yeah, because
And then we just have them as an alternative in case shit hits the fan on Friday again.
Right.
Okay.
I do want to create
you're feeling
5
really
though.
Strongly on the Eagles, I'm with you. I have no bones to pick whatsoever with the Eagles. they were down, 2 scores early in that Washington football game, and they came roaring back because that's
And Washington is a better, and as you mentioned, Washington is a better defense than the Giants. So if they were able to come back and still cover with ease down 2 scores, against as 7-point favorites, now you're going up against a worse team with a backup quarterback and no offense who can't score in the red zone outside of the red zone. I think the Eagles has no running game. Terrible coaching. I mean, it's just a bad team. You said the fans have given up. I'm pretty sure the team has too. and then Saquon Barkley, he's not going to be able to do anything. Yeah. I would feel comfortable with the Eagles. So Bills, Ravens, Bears, Eagles, that's 4. And then 5, would you want to do Colts, Vikings, Cowboys pick or any other one?
I think we go with the Colts here. I think it makes the most sense. As far as the line move goes, I trust it. I don't trust that Arizona is just going to bounce right back after that Detroit loss. And again, as I said, the Colts have been trending in the right direction for weeks now. And as much as it pains me sometimes to see Carson Wentz in the red zone, I do have a lot of faith in Frank Wright and, of course, Jonathan Taylor.
So then would you not want to do any alternatives, leave Vikings off because we have Jonathan Taylor and no Dalvin Cook? I would rather go with Jonathan Taylor.
I think right now we keep those 5. And then we know that if need be, we can use the Vikings or we can use the Cowboys. I mean, barring anything catastrophic like last week.
Yeah, last minute
makes a lot of sense.
COVID. Okay, then we'll do that. We'll do 5 and then 2 alternatives, and I'll submit these tomorrow. So then our 5 that we are more than likely rolling with will be the Bills +2 at the Patriots, Ravens +3 at the Bengals, Bears +6.5 to the Seahawks, Eagles -9.5 to the Giants, and Colts -1 to the Cardinals. I will submit this card on Friday pending any news. If nothing changes, then that's our card.
Yeah, absolutely.
If shit hits the fan with any of those 5, then we will substitute one of them with Vikings +3 to the Rams or Cowboys -10.5 at home to the Washington football team. But I like it. That's a great plan. With COVID, you kind of have to have a backup.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with weeks when we're just like, we don't really like anything, to be able to come up with 7 in theory that we agree on. And it's not like we're scrambling last minute to try to find that one. Now we have some locked in place. Luckily, we avoided those landmines last week. Hopefully we get that same luck this week.
And these teams, all of them except for the Bears, are still in contention to get into the playoffs. The Bears have been eliminated. Bills still fighting. Eagles still fighting. Colts still fighting. Ravens still fighting. They're all of them playing for seed position now. And that matters.
Absolutely. Those are the kind of teams that we want to be back in, especially over the next 3 weeks where it gets really dicey.
Oh, that does it. That's awesome. I like our 5. I love our 5. I parlayed our 5 last week. I'm going to parlay ours again. I'm going to wait until game day though, to see if the lines end up working towards our favor, just like the Ravens did. I felt real good with my 9. I was like, oh, I love this. I texted you at like
no sweat.
I texted you at 7. I was like, oh my God, Kelly, it's at 7. We're going to have to bet.
And having Ravens +9 when they're up.
So then those are our 5, just to reiterate: Bills +2, Ravens +3, Bears +6.5, Eagles -9.5, Colts -1, pending any craziness, Vikings +3, and Cowboys -10.5. But the first 5 mentioned, that's more than likely going to be our card. Do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter at KellyInVegas. You can follow me on Twitter at PamelaM35. That does it for another episode of Stack Your Stats.